Welcome to the SoCal Classic Car Podcast, the exclusive place for coverage of car culture in Southern California and the personalities that drive it. I'm your co-host, Big J Marash. The show is associated with SoCal Classic Car Storage, which provides South OC car lovers the opportunity to secure their vehicles in an environment made just for them. Our two facilities feature advanced security systems, 24-hour video surveillance, and a dedicated members lounge. In addition to storage, our expert sales staff offers consignment services for those looking to sell their cars. For more information, visit us at our Laguna Hills store or at SoCalCarStorage.com or on Facebook at Facebook.com/SoCalCarStorage. And here's your host, Dean Marash.
Thanks, Jay, and welcome everyone to the SoCal Classic Car Podcast. I'm your host, Dean Marash. Today in our studio, we are privileged to have Lance Stander, CEO of Superformance, Shelby, Legendary Cars, and Hillbank Motorsports. Lance has had a long career in the automotive industry. He got his start working with his father in all places South Africa. Lance decided to take his 37 years of automotive industry experience and moved to Southern California to open Hillbank Motorsports in 1999 in Costa Mesa. In 2005, Lance purchased Superformance and is a worldwide distributor for all Superformance-built cars. Superformance manufactures officially licensed continuation Shelby Cobras, Shelby Daytona Coupes, GT40s, Corvette Grand Sports, and has over 20 independent dealerships throughout the world. To date, Superformance has produced and distributed over 5,000 Cobras worldwide. Lance's incredible business is headquartered right here in Lake Forest, California, in the heart of the OC. Welcome, Lance, and Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year, Dean. Thanks very much for the invite.
Tell us, in your own words, how you came up with this awesome global business of keeping car enthusiasts in new classic Cobras, GT40s, and Corvettes, etc.
You know, it was just a privilege second to none. I had come across from South Africa, and my original plan was to start a salvage business. My background was in salvage in South Africa, and I started knocking on all the doors and trying to get into salvage in the US, and find out there are massive, where it was $1 million business in South Africa, it's $1 billion business in America.
Right.
And I noticed that this little guy was going to get squashed out really badly. There's some big players. I was the largest player in the salvage industry in South Africa, and I was definitely going to be the little peanut in the salvage industry in America. And I'd heard about the Cobras. I'd actually owned one of the Superformance Cobras in South Africa by default, and I had it for a few months before I left South Africa. And the friend who's doing the importing of the cars to the US and selling them through the US said to me, why don't you start a little showroom for me in Irvine, in Southern California, actually, not Irvine, Southern California. And I said, no, I'm not interested. There's no way I'm doing plastic cars, that's not going to happen. And so I carried on trying to get the salvage business started, and my wife had started getting really bored being at home with 3 kids. Nothing she hated more than being at home with 3 kids. She'd worked her whole life. She'd worked in our company in South Africa her whole life. She always says she's actually my boss because she started working for my dad before I did when I was in the army. So anyhow, so she said, could I do the Cobras? And I said, well, let's go ahead. And we visited, saw what they were doing, and I saw that the Cobras, from being $10,000 cars in South Africa, were $40,000, $50,000 even 20 years ago for replicas. And they built up a really good name, Superformance, already. And so we started the little showroom. And then 4 years later, approximately 4 or 5 years later, the offer came from Jim Price, the owner of Superformance at the time and the owner of the factory in SA. And he said, would you want to take over the distribution? And I said, yeah, no, I'm interested in that. What's the numbers? And he threw this number at me, and I got such a fright I fell down, but I knew. And we looked at it, and once he saw that I was prepared to pay for the distribution, he said, well, look, you might as well buy the tooling, buy everything, the trademarks, the whole lot to the company. I'll be your manufacturer. And because he had other projects he was going to work on also. And Superformance had become a lot of work for him to control the retail and the distribution side of the business. So we did it, and we paid him a whole lot more money, and we ended up with Superformance, and it was wonderful. We got to negotiate with Carroll Shelby and got the license agreement with Carroll Shelby, and then went on to get the agreement to build all Shelby's Cobras too, not just the Superformance car.
Wow.
And that was all exciting, and it just developed from there. But as you probably know, and the 2008-2009 economy caught us out. And that was a bit of a shocker.
I bet. Yeah. So let me get this straight. You have responsibility for distribution not only across the United States but worldwide. Plus, you own Superformance. Is that correct? Do I understand it correctly?
Yeah, I own Superformance, and then Superformance has a DBA trading as Shelby Legendary Cars. And through Shelby Legendary Cars, we distribute all the Shelby 60s cars. So Shelby American handles all the new Shelbys, right, Mustangs, and trucks and all the rest of that. And then Shelby Legendary Cars does all the 60s cars, the Cobras, GT40s, Daytonas.
Wow.
Worldwide, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a ride. It's been 22 years now, and it's been incredible. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. They always say if you're working your passion or your hobby, or that's your job, then you don't work a day in your life. And
true that.
I think I can say that.
So, your facility in, I guess technically Irvine, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Is the only one I'm familiar with. Right, so they're all called Hillbank, are they?
No.
Some are and some are not.
No.
But is that the biggest one in the United States?
That's the biggest one in the United States, volume-wise. Yeah, we have a very large Shelby dealer in Dembesti. He's up in Northern California, but he's basically just Shelby. Hillbank is a dealer, and what the difference is, Superformance only sells to dealers and distributors, and so does Shelby Legendary Cars. Whereas Hillbank is a dealer; it only sells to the public.
Right, got it. So. Do you, now that you have such a big role in the company for some time, obviously, do you have an influence on the subsequent design models as you modify these vehicles, future models as they change? Do you get involved in that? Or, how does that come about when...
Yeah, no, that all comes across my desk. We've done some exciting stuff. All the projects. So, for instance, when all the different 50th anniversary editions. So Shelby, really started winning big from 64, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 onwards. And we've done 50th anniversary editions between myself and Gary Patterson at Shelby American. We've developed the cars that have been done for them, and they've all sold out. Every 50th edition we've done. Very exciting for us right now. We're doing the 50th of the 1969 Le Mans winner GT40. That's a real famous car owned by Robert Walton from Walmart, and that car actually won 68 and 69, and that's a hell of a feat for a car at Le Mans. And we've done licensed with Gulf Racing, and of course Sapper that own the rights to the GT40 name. And we have a P series. It actually has a P1100 series number. So it follows on from the original cars that were built back in the 60s. And the first one we'll be displaying at Barrett-Jackson in a couple of weeks' time. And really excited to have that car out there.
Well, Barrett-Jackson, I think you mentioned before we got on this podcast, you're going to have how many cars out there?
We're taking 30 cars to Barrett-Jackson, yeah. So in the display, there'll be roughly 22 to 24. We have a facility just outside of Barrett-Jackson where the rest will be displayed.
Nice. Yeah. Well, Jason, it's not too early to be thinking about my Christmas present for next year.
I took you to the Rams game. That's a
no.
That's a no by the sounds of things.
I might have to buy
How am I going to feed the kids if you don't buy your dad a car? Come on. There you go.
So
great.
We a number of weeks ago we had a guest. His name is Eric Hansen, and he's very familiar and pretty involved in Factory 5. So we had a fascinating conversation with him about the home built Factory 5 model and what inspires people to purchase them, to build them, and we gained tremendous insight into that model. But not everybody's familiar with the differences, right, between what's going on with your business and what's going on with that business. So help set them apart for the people that are listening today.
Well, it's very interesting you asked me that question, Pierre. I've been asked it a couple of times. So, firstly, I take my hat off to the guys that do the model cars, the kit cars, and build them, because that's a hell of a skill. And Dave from Factory 5 has a great business. His model works. He's sold a lot more cars than I've sold. And these owners are very passionate about their cars, and they build great cars. I mean, I've seen amazing cars finished by them. So my cars are, where it's different is it's for the guy who's a doctor, a lawyer, or something else along those lines,
right.
Or a guy that's very busy, entrepreneur, very busy his business, and doesn't have the time to build one of the cars. And also would like something that's licensed by the original manufacturer and be able to say it's an original car, it's a new car. And that's where I come in. So it's a little more expensive to go my route. If you go the Superformance route for a Cobra, you between $50,000 and $80,000,
right,
and higher, of course. If you go the Shelby route, you start at about 105 and you go up to 150 for the regular Cobras. And if you go aluminum body Cobras, you're 250 plus, depending on which way you go. Daytonas can go all the way from 180,000 to 500,000 for the Daytona.
So the people that are buying cars from you, they're expecting a turnkey experience. They're expecting reliability. They're expecting performance. Of course, they expect to look damn good and probably a lot better than they normally do when they drive your car. Is that safe to say that these aren't necessarily people that are always good with their hands?
No. In a lot of cases, I mean, a lot of them have the ability. They probably could, but they don't have the time to do that. And, they can't set them up. The guy that builds a car at home, normally has time in the evenings and also has, can't go blow 50,000 straight out, but he could pay 12 to 20,000 for a kit and then start. And it's a great project. It's a wonderful way for guys to go for with their kids,
right.
Do a car that way. So what we do offer for that guy who has a little more capital and does want to get his hands dirty, we sell a roller. And the roller comes in minus engine and transmission.
Right.
So I've had a lot of owners in this area that have taken them home like that, put the engine, the transmission, the fun part. Yeah, you do the fun part. It comes there all nicely painted and shiny. It's totally radiators in, power's on, the battery's in, everything is done. You just used to put the engine and transmission and drive shaft in and wire.
Have you ever had those come back where you guys have got to fix?
No. I must admit, the guys have been pretty good. There's a lot of information with over 5,000 owners. We have a very powerful
network,
Cobra Owners Forum, and it's called Superformance Car Owners Forum, and it's run by a guy, Randall Thomas. Amazing job. They've got a technical library in there second to none. I think it compares with a Ford technical library. And I'm just kidding, but it is a hell of a library. It tells you every nut and bolt from the first Superformance Cobra to the current Superformance Cobra, the changes we've done over the years, because everything on a Superformance Cobra is brand new. There's no reconditioned parts or anything like that. So we keep a record of when we change different parts because of availability of new not being available anymore. And the SCOP is just a wonderful resource for my owners.
So one of the things that intrigues me about what you said earlier is this idea that essentially you've been approved to go build these special VINs, if you will, by Carroll Shelby, and we know Shelby has passed, unfortunately. What it makes me think about is we had a continuation Shelby in here at one point, early when we started the business of SoCal Classic Car Storage. It was a convertible. It was a black and gold convertible Shelby continuation, and I think he made about 12 of those cars. And I think it was done sometime in the late 70s, early 80s. I don't know if you're familiar.
Was it a Mustang?
Yeah.
A Mustang.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what he did, I don't know what motivated him, but the rumor is that he wanted to give Cobra convertibles to all his family members. So he had a limited production build. They went out and bought these 1960, I think they were 66 or 67, 4-speed, convertibles, and then he stripped them down, built these continuation Cobras, if you will. So, but the important part of that is the VINs. Without the VINs, you can't go get that done. So, it's fascinating what he's doing. But how does the VIN thing play into what you do? This, as far as making a production car.
So it's where all the value is. You know, if you look at cars, they need to be in registries. They need to belong to something. And everything that we sell from Shelby comes with an MSO, manufacturer statement of origin, from Shelby. It'll have a CSX number, and CSX stands for Carroll Shelby Export. Those numbers will be registered in the World Shelby Registry.
Okay.
So, you know, it makes the car real. And the other side of it is, in 20 years, 30 years time, those are the next cars to become very, very valuable. And especially if they stop us from building fossil fuel cars, which is going to be coming soon.
So you bring it up. I'm sorry you went there, but we're going to have to address it.
Yeah.
Electric Shelbys. Is this possible that you guys are thinking about it, working on it? Maybe we're not under NDA. Obviously, we're on a podcast, so you don't have to answer this question if you are. But it does beg the question at some point, right?
Yeah. No, Carroll was always moving forward. He said, you know, you don't look in the past all the time. And we're busy in development with the first electric car. We were hoping to have the first Cobra. Now, Carroll did one a couple of years ago. Well, many years ago.
He did.
But that was before technology had got to where it is now. So the car we've got should be here by roughly February. And it's not, the first one we're doing is not about killer performance to go and take on the fastest Teslas out there. It's not about that. It will be fast. It's equivalent of about 400 horsepower, but it's going to be 2,400 pounds. So it's half the weight of a Tesla. So it will be fast. But the main thing is to prove the concept and the drivability, and that's what we're going for, to make a really nice drivable car.
What about modifying cars? Okay, so one of the things I think about my customer that that is also your customer, and he's taking one of your cars and actually is modifying it. Do you see that very often? Not just wheels and tires and engine per se, but actually going in there and making some design changes. Do you see that much, or is that pretty rare?
No, it is rare, but it does happen. He won't be the first to have changed the GT40. I'm not going to mention any names now, but there's a guy that really changed the GT40 all the way to a Chevrolet engine, changed the interior of the car, changed everything on the car. Uh-huh. He had previously been involved in what was done to a Daytona. But so we do have customers that'll take stuff and really go to the next level. I've had guys buy Superformance Cobras that should be 80,000, and at the end of the day they've got 150,000 in them, and they're unique to them, and they've done massive changes, and the cars are really nice.
So not uncommon.
No, it's not uncommon. No, we're looking forward to seeing what our customers are going to be doing with this.
Oh, great! So you guys are open-minded and excited about it.
Oh yeah. No, we like to go forward, and you never know everything. You can always learn something from somebody, and that's been my motto.
Yeah. So one of the things you mentioned a little bit back was the opportunity to provide cars, the hero car as well as most of the cars, for Ford versus Ferrari. What an honor that must have been. How did that come about? Let's chat a little bit about that. I think everybody's interested in that story.
Yeah, that was exciting. We were initially approached, and it was supposed to be for a lot more cars. We were going to do everything that was Ford-based for the movie. And I don't know how to touch on this. I'll rather stay. I'll probably not. I'll rather not. Safe to say that the original contract shrank a little, and it ended up being about 27 cars. We're really happy that we still got part of the contract. So most of the cars that were damaged badly in the movie were not from us. But the hero cars, the car that Henry Ford drives in, and the car that Matt Damon drives as Carroll Shelby's Cobra was ours, and the Cobras, all the Cobras in the movie were from us. But some of the GT40s were supplied by another company for the damage. We did supply the shell of a GT40 that they burnt in the movie. That was ours.
Sad.
Yeah, it was sad to see that happen. But it was a very exciting time. It developed and it got more and more. And we'd been approached a couple of times in the last 10 years, people that wanted to do a Shelby movie about that, and it never came to fruition. So when it first started, we thought, it's just another one of those. It's not going to happen. But the guys that ended up doing it, these guys were very professional, and the evidence is there. You look at that movie. People would love to fault stuff. I really can't fault it because they did such a good job. Is it historically accurate? Of course not. No Hollywood movie will ever be historically accurate. Documentaries aren't 100%.
That'd be boring,
And
historically
if it was a
accurate.
documentary, who's going to go watch it?
Right, exactly.
So the film was great. My wife loved it, and all the women that go see it love it too. Kids love it. It was a great movie, and the guys did a good job of it.
Well,
it was a good
Jay and
family
I
movie.
went, and my wife, and she loved it.
Yeah,
Jay-
the women get a bit of a cry, so they
Yeah.
like that. And it was exciting. The cars were gone for about a year. When they arrived back, they were all sold within 48 hours. Everything that we had was
No
moved.
kidding.
Yeah.
Anything that was touched by Christian Bale
Yeah.
or
Well,
Matt
and
Damon.
and we couldn't really. We were under NDA with the film company, so we could just hint to the fact that they were movie cars, but we couldn't go much further with it.
I see.
But they still sold well. But you'll notice one of them is going to Meekum now, and the guy's going to be reselling it, and we think he's going to double his money, so he's pretty happy about that.
Right on.
Well, that's an idea, Jay. Buy a movie Cobra for me, and then there's none left.
And I can help you with that. So what
Could you?
we've done, because of the popularity of it, we've come out with the cinema series. We've called them the cinema series, and they're based on the cars in the movie. They are set up, optioned, everything the same as the movie cars
Right on.
that we supplied. So you could buy any one of the GT40s in any of the colors that they were shown in the film. You can buy any one of the Cobras, and you can make variations to it. They come with special CSX VIN numbers, relating them back to the film.
Brilliant.
And they come with all the paperwork, and they'll be in the registry as cinema series. And there's only going to be, I'm trying to remember now, it's 50 or 100. I'm not sure exactly. I've gone and forgot the number, but it's a low number.
Well, it sounds like a great birthday present. It's
Yeah.
a great idea.
Not with what I get paid here. Are you kidding?
Okay, yes, tough times. Times are tough. So, did you meet Matt Damon? Did you meet Christian Bale? Did you meet the producer? I think I saw some social media posts where you on the red carpet with your wife and your family. And so, tell us about going to Hollywood.
Yeah, that was a whole new experience. I did get to meet Matt Damon. We didn't get to talk a lot to him because the day I was up in Burbank, he was filming and they had a lot for him to do. But
Right.
he did come over and speak to us. Christian Bale was great. He wasn't actually filming that day, and he was there. And my son was a big Batman fan, so he got to speak to Christian nonstop. And Christian also wanted to know a lot about the car. They weren't familiar with Cobras. It's not something they knew about.
Yeah.
So Ashton spent a lot of time explaining all the differences and how everything works, and he was in and out the car with him a whole lot of time. But Christian was a really nice guy, down to earth, and had a lot of time. And I got a whole lot of respect. I saw, the day we were there, they were filming in a studio in Burbank, and it had to be 100+ degrees in that studio. It was so hot. And here's Matt Damon with jacket on and coat and big hat, and he's having to work constantly. And I was sweating there, sitting with a cool shirt on. So they have to work also. They have some parts of their life is tough when it comes to that filming. That's
I don't
for
know.
sure.
I don't know, but I think every business is hard work.
Yeah.
But most people walk into our business and ask us the question, "What do you guys do all day?"
Yeah.
Right? But I think it's because we enjoy it so much and we love it, and it's our passion. Apparently we're making it look easy.
Yeah.
But I think we know better. But it's kind of like Hollywood makes it look so easy. Well, it's just acting, right?
No, it's I just saw a little. I know very little bit about Hollywood, but I just saw that day, and I mean how massive those productions are. I think they blew $500,000. I think they said it was something like $400,000 a day or something like that for a full thing. The amount of stuff, equipment. The food blew me away. They had every possible food group, from vegan, vegetarian to carnivore to whatever you imagine was available. Every candy, every protein shake, every drink, coffee, tea. I looked at it and thought, man, this is crazy. And more of it kept coming. The equipment and everything that was there, it's one hell of a thing. Hollywood is Hollywood. It's a big deal.
Was it anxiety inducing to watch these cars kind of get abused and used, where you're like, oh man, like, be careful?
It was probably more for my son. I've grown, I love cars, and I have a lot of feeling for cars. I always say I prefer cars to people, but, but on the other end, they are a tool, and they're a tool of our business, and I keep trying to tell my son that, and I say, they whatever happens, we can repair them, we can fix them. No, Dad, we can't do that, But no, I enjoyed seeing them being driven the way they're supposed to be driven,
Pushed.
the way they were driven in the 60s, and they drove the Cobras. When the Cobras came back, they hardly had any paint left on the front of them. The windshields were completely pitted up. The chrome was already pitted off the thing. The headlights, the glass of the headlights, they did hundreds of laps on the tracks. They were amazing.
So, question: was your wife goo over the actors? How was her reaction? Being that close to Hollywood. These are A-listers. These are big time guys. Matt and Christian.
She's a little different. My wife. She doesn't get taken back by that kind of thing.
No, wasn't starstruck.
No,
okay.
She's not starstruck.
Okay.
I'd love to tell you that she was. She's not that way. I mean, I think Matt and Christian look good.
Yeah.
No, she's a little different when it comes to stuff like that.
Well, who taught these guys how to drive the cars? That intrigues me too.
Yeah, they spent time with Bob Bondurant's school.
Bob Bondurant.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, they went to Bob Bondurant's school, and then, of course, they had very good stunt drivers also.
Oh, I bet.
And good guys were there. And, of course, Alex Gurney drove.
Dan's son?
Yeah, he did. He portrayed his father in the movie. Rich MacDonald, he portrayed his father in the movie, Dave MacDonald. Yeah. And they had Val, I've forgotten his name now, a very good driver, and he was one of the stunt drivers. And actually, one of the stunt drivers, whose name escapes me now too, bought one of the cars, one of the Cobras from him, so he owned that. And Rich MacDonald bought the car, was used his father's car, and Randall Shelby bought the car that was used as Carol's car in the movie, and Aaron Shelby, bought the car that was used as Carol's car in the movie, and Randall Shelby bought one of the Ken Miles cars, and Peter Miles bought the Ken Miles car from the movie. So we had a good bunch of guys. The cars have gone to good homes, and we really happy.
I think you need to make more movies. Sounds like the best way to sell cars. Huh?
Yeah.
Are you guys going to keep doing things in the movie business?
Yeah, it was a good source of revenue. It takes a lot of money to do it because they didn't buy the cars from me; they leased the cars from me. So I only got half the money up front. So I had about nearly $4 million in cars that went to the movie, and they were gone for 4 months, and I had a quarter of that in the bank. So it was tough to carry it.
So let's switch subjects a little bit. I'm really curious about what's pushing the envelope from a design standpoint. You guys continue to roll out new models on your Mark models and your Shelby Cobras and your Corvettes and almost every car that you sell and distribute. But what are people asking for? Is it performance? Is it handling? Is it safety? I mean, what is the the thing that seems to be making the big impact from a design standpoint?
Well, it's not so much design. Excuse me. The electric, as you mentioned it, we're getting a lot of questions and demand for electric versions of our cars, so that's what we're working on. I've just been licensed by Ford to produce the GR1, the Shelby GR1, and if you're not familiar with it, just look up Shelby GR1. It's a beautiful car. It was a prototype they did in 2004. It dates back to the Daytona that won Le Mans in 65.
I remember, yeah.
So that was the idea behind that car, but they came out with the GT at the time.
That was done at the design studio up in Pasadena, right?
Yeah,
beautiful.
So that we're looking forward to.
Now that car was never produced, so right?
No, they never went into production.
Right.
So we're really excited. I've got back to all the original team that worked on that car: Chris Theodore, Freeman Thomas, Greg Hutton, the Greek guy that designed it. Oh man, I'm terrible with names. Wonderful guy. I've got to everybody that was involved in that GR1, and they're all on board to be part of the team.
How fun.
That car. So what the car is waiting for is we're waiting for this Low Volume Manufacturers Act to finally happen. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
No.
So about 12 years ago, Senator John Campbell and a whole lot of us got involved, and we tried to get a Low Volume Manufacturers Act bill passed for our industry, where if you produce under a certain amount of cars, you don't have to meet
all the standards,
all the current federal safety standards and manufacturing standards. And this Senator Campbell took it to a real high level, and then it died on the vine. And we just carried it in the background. Eventually, SEMA picked it up.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
I remember SEMA carrying that. Yep.
SEMA picked it up, and that's when the bill just started happening. And great guys like Stuart Goswine and the whole team at SEMA, they did a lot of work to get it through. And we actually got it passed. And it became an act. Obama finally signed it in, but then it got held up by the bureaucrats, and it's just been held up. And eventually, we got EPA to finalize their regulations, CARB to finalize, but Bureau of Automotive Repair to come. They all got it done, and the last step was NHTSA and National Highway Transportation Association. They held it up until now, but they have finally SEMA started suing NHTSA for them to produce the regulations. NHTSA has done that. It's just happened. It happened in December.
How exciting.
So we've got 30 days now to comment on the regulations as they've laid it out. Superformance has already registered as a manufacturer, and we already have our 17-digit VIN numbers. So we're really excited because now we'll be able to sell the Cobra complete, our Daytonas complete, all our cars complete with engine and transmission, be able to sell them at Ford dealers and my Grand Sport Corvette at Chevrolet dealers.
Nice.
Which is a big difference to where I've been having
limited
to do business
distribution,
now.
right?
It also gives us the opportunity to export. So we limited to 325 cars in the US, but unlimited numbers may be exported. And it's a job creation bill, and that's the good thing about it. My company, I started gearing up when I thought it was going to happen 3 years ago, and I actually bought nearly 140 cars in inventory. When I looked again, I was in serious trouble because I had all this inventory, and they never came through. And so we suffered through. A lot of other guys, smaller manufacturers and car builders, also did the similar thing to me, and financed themselves to the hilt to be ready for low volume, and then it never came through.
Well, you just walked us through Tucker's story. No wonder why he only built 50 of those fabulous machines, or whatever he built. It's just the regulations, the government. They just it's hard to make money with that kind of insanity. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, so
exciting
we're excited
times.
about it. Yeah, we're excited.
Very
about
exciting
that.
times.
Yeah. So low volume is going to change our industry, and it's going to make cars available. You can walk in and drive off the showroom floor with one of my cars new.
That'll be great. So we do see it quite a bit at the Cars and Coffee Show. We had Simon Ware here on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and he was awesome. Great chap. Great story. What he's done down there in San Clemente.
Very cool
amazing.
guy. Yeah.
But where I bumped into you guys first was over at Aliso Viejo. I don't think I ever bumped into you at the Irvine Cars and Coffee, but I met your son down there, and I've met some of your other team. And so you basically have just continued to evolve and use these shows as an integral part of your business model. Talk a little bit about how important it is to stay in the community in these events.
Well, it's very important, but apart from it that's my fun, It's my release. I love going. As everybody says, well, what do? You go every Saturday. I say we meet the same guys and tell the same stories over and over with a little more exaggeration each time. That's all.
Embellishment.
And we've had a great time, and they're very important. Now they are important. When we've got new models, we'll definitely show them there. Ford Motor Company, General Motors, all the big companies bring their latest cars and even their prototypes. They'll bring them to these events to see how the reaction of the public.
Well, I noticed that they brought that convertible Corvette, the new mid-engine Corvette, and I think that was not even a production Corvette.
Correct. Yeah.
So I know there was a lot of oohs and ahs on that one.
Yeah. No, the shows are very important.
And so you guys. Do you oftentimes drag out your limited production cars or your first ones and
we actually took
roll them out there?
Yeah.
Do you have rollouts there?
Yeah, we took all the movie cars down there. We took the cinema series down for people to see. That was quite cool. I took the GR1 has not been down there yet. Good idea. We're going tomorrow, but I don't think I'll take the GR1 tomorrow. But yeah, the Cars and Coffee is it's a great bunch of guys. Car guys are the best.
Yeah, they are. Car guys are different. Some of us have problems, but that's mostly the people that are running this podcast.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I always think about is what's this notion of a typical customer of yours. My customer is your customer, and again, we won't say his name, but he's a repeat customer of yours. And,
he's on his third car.
And I'm just curious, is this pretty common where people keep coming back, and maybe they want another car in their stable, or they get
very common. I've got one customer who's now also become a very good friend of mine, and we've traveled overseas together on vacations. I think he owns 13 of my cars now. 13. And whenever we get something new, every one he has got, each one of the Sebring editions. He's got a Mark 1 GT, a Mark 2 GT40. He's got a Grand Sport. He's got an aluminum Cobra, 2 aluminum Daytonas. It goes on, and he's just got the 50th anniversary GT40 arriving this next week at Barrett Jackson to be displayed, and most of them are still standing with me in the showroom. He hasn't even picked them up. He just comes out and visits them, and enjoys it.
He might have to give him a distributor license
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
It sounds like your great sales force.
Yeah.
An extension of your sales force. You guys are running a family business like Jay and I over here at SoCal Classic Car Storage. Who all's involved? I met your son at the, like I said, the Aliso Viejo Cars and Coffee. But is your wife involved? Are there other members of your family that are?
Yeah, my wife and I have actually known each other since we were 10 years old. And
No kidding.
Yeah, that's how long. And we've been married 35 years now, and we've worked together for 40 years. Yeah, she started. I had to go to the army in South Africa. You have to go for 2 years, and when between 18 and 20. And she actually started working with my dad when I went to the army, and I came out, and so that's why she says she's my boss. And then I've got my daughter. She's in accounts. She got a business degree, and my 2 sons were with me. My 1 son is straight off to Texas for a while, but Ashton is still with us in the company.
That's great. Now, we love the family business idea, and I've just been real blessed to have Jay on my side. He's the one that produces the podcasts and does all the technology and keeps me honest.
Yeah, we don't know about technology.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think
we have a hard time being in front of the mic where he wants us.
Yeah, so we're trying to behave over here. I don't know. He's kind of giving us that eyeball. How are we doing, Jay?
Well, at least you're in front of the microphone.
So that's good.
We're start.
We're doing good today.
No, we get better as these things go along.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's next for Superformance and Hillbank? GR1 you talked about, that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be huge. That thing you've been working on that for years and years
and
years.
It's 8 years, and Ford finally gave me the license. And the Grand Sport was the same. Grand Sport took me more than 8 years.
No
of
kidding.
Knocking on the door at
No
GM.
kidding.
And they said to me, who's this crazy guy with a funny accent
funny
that
accent.
wants to build a Corvette outside of GM and call it a Corvette? That just doesn't happen. But eventually, Superformance built such a good name with all the cars and people right at the top of GM, people right at the top of Ford own our cars. So we got a good name out there.
Do you think that's why fewer people do these things, like what you've done, is because it's hard to withstand 8 years of staying the course, of the ups and downs financially. Like you said on that GR1, you carry an inventory because now you run into these regulations or permitting issues, and not too many people have the courage or the stomach or the wherewithal to withstand all that.
Yeah, we say just too dumb and stupid to give up. That's all it is. There's challenges in this business, and we say we don't really do it for the money. And I mean, there's a little money, but we don't do it. We could do a lot better doing something else. The kind of effort it takes, but you enjoy every day waking up. You in amongst these beautiful cars here at your SoCal storage.
Yeah.
And I go into my showroom, and I'm in amongst the best cars, the best race cars of the '60s.
You are.
And there's nothing better than that. I don't want to be amongst a whole lot of 70s cars, a whole lot of 80s cars.
Right.
50s cars are beautiful too, and 60s, pre-60s are good. But I just like the cars of race and the muscle era, and that's what we're in amongst. And they're just amazing. And the smell of fuel and all that is just great.
So one of the things that we make the mistake of when we come in is it's kind of like living near the beach. Not that I can't make that claim, but I assume that if you lived right on the ocean, that the last thing you do is probably go down to the ocean. Well, same thing happens here. We'll dust off a car, move a car, take in a car. This is what we do every day.
Yeah.
But we don't stop and smell the roses or the cars.
Yeah.
And does that happen to you too? Where like people come, oh my goodness, look at this incredible collection of cars, and my reaction is, oh yeah, that's right.
I have got myself to understand and trying to appreciate what I have, what the cars mean to me. And it started long back with my dad. My dad used to do this. He used to do once a week. He would grab me and we'd go sit across the road and sit on this pole that was across the road, and we'd look at the showroom. And he'd say, "Just take it in. Just have a look what you're doing." Because sometimes we'd be ungrateful. We don't realize how wonderful this is. We could be sitting in an office all day. You could be a lawyer or something like that. You could look at paperwork the whole day. I mean, that would be terrible. And my dad taught me to appreciate it from that point. I said, "What would you rather do? Which job would be better?" And I don't think of anything else. I've always said, okay, if I could have been a musician, a pianist, or something like that really made money of that, yes. I think that's amazing. If you have a singing ability and you can make music, that's something. But but work in an office or anything like that all day, even though nowadays I have to be in the office all day. But working with the cars that we love, that look like as good as they are, it's incredible.
That's well said. We've had this conversation with a number of our podcast guests, and we always wind up with this, this idea of passion. How did you get started in this business? But what I hear from all of our guests is the passion exudes when they answer that question, or a derivative of that question, that this is really what they love. And they feel very blessed or fortunate to be in a business that they enjoy so much. And again, I think you're right. I think a lot of us that are in the car business make sacrifices financially. I came from the tech industry, and there's definitely more money to be made there as an executive, say, than doing what we do. But I can't think of a better way to spend, 60, 70 hours a week or whatever it takes than this.
Yeah.
But,
in my industry, you could get a new car franchise, to make a lot more money. But how boring would that be, looking at new cars every day? It wouldn't be the same.
So you couldn't sell Toyotas?
No, definitely not. And not get excited about it, put it that way.
Cool. So I think I'd like to, for our listeners, I'd like you to tell us, them and me, what's the best way to get in touch with you and the folks at Superformance and Hillbank? I mean, is website, social media, what's best?
Well, we're all over social media. You could definitely look up www.superformance.com, www.hillbankusa.com, or Shelby Legendary Cars with an S.com. You'll definitely find us in any one of those. We also have a 1-800-29-SNAKE number.
Nice.
How's that?
Nice.
So, and you can dial that, and that'll get you through to the dealers anywhere in the country. It's routed to the dealers wherever they are, or overseas. Well, not overseas for the 1-800. And otherwise, we'll see you at a show somewhere. We'll definitely be there.
Sure. Well, Lance, I can't thank you enough. You've been an awesome guest, and I'll turn it over to Jason, but thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks very much. I appreciate the opportunity, really do.
Right on. Well, thank you so much again, Lance, for being on the show. Anything else you'd like to add? Anything we may have missed?
I think you covered it all. I know when I leave here, I'm thinking, why didn't you talk about that? Or why didn't you talk about that? Or my wife, or my boss, as I call her, will say to me, why didn't you? You never mentioned that. You never mentioned that.
Right. Well, we brought your wife up a couple of times, so that's good.
We should have the after the podcast,
Oh my gosh!
That's what happened last week with Sarah.
That's true. Our guest, we sat around with her for about an hour and had the green room chat.
She was just like, I'm like, why didn't we ask you that during the podcast?
We did that because we kept asking her questions. And that should have been on the podcast.
Yeah, that should have been the podcast. Yeah.
So your wife's not alone.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, thank you so much again for stopping by here. This is the SoCal Classic Car Podcast, S3CP, for those in the know. You can find more episodes of the SoCal Classic Car Podcast on our website by visiting us at socalcarstorage.com/media. Again, that's socalcarstorage.com/media. Or you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Google Podcasts, or any other major podcast outlets. Again, this is the SoCal Classic Car Podcast. Thank you so much for stopping by, and happy driving.